I'm Linda, welcome back. I just finished up a really pretty fall scene. Lots of beautiful colors on a lake with a stone pathway going down to the water. You're really going to like painting this one. So get your paints out, get ready, so let's get started. And here are the paints I used for the backdrop: acrylics, titanium white, ivory black, raw sienna, and then you let that dry. Oils are titanium white, phthalo blue, lamp black, Van Dyke brown, sap green, cad yellow pale hue, orange, red ochre, and cad red light. So I've got a clean dry canvas and I've etched out the painting that I wanna do here. So I've got acrylics and I've got some pale, kind of a pale blue, phthalo blue, just touch of black, just not real dark, but just a nice light blue. And I'm going just above the horizon line. And I'm going to be putting a few blue areas in the background. It's just background color. So I'm pushing that blue in there, going up in the left corner, because there will be a little bit of sky showing through. Going into a little bit of black and white, gonna make a medium to dark gray. I'm figuring out where I want my background trees, way in the distance. So I've got a liner brush, and I'm just gonna stroke upward here and there for background trees. Mainly on the right side there. There's going to be a big old hill on the other side, so a few taller ones that are going to go behind that big hill that I'm going to paint. I want some background trees way in the distance. Nothing special, just straight up, not real heavy. Okay, you way on the very top of that canvas, just few uh, background trees. And I'm going to put a little brush right a little bit of above the halfway mark there. That is where the water line will end. So I'm gonna have a little mass of land right there, way in the distance. Got a 1-inch tapping in, just putting in a little bit of background beneath the trees, and it doesn't have to be a lot. So I'm going into a little bit. I've got the sienna color. Just gonna dot in where the bushes are, give it a distant fall look. Just here and there. Okay, I have let that totally dry, and now I'm gonna apply some liquid white. That will, it'll help make the canvas a little bit slippery, plus I can make the background look a little misty, a little foggy, fog going on there. So I'm just gonna really light. I'm tapping on my um, blue shop towel there, just tapping off a little excess off my brush. But I will take a blue shop towel afterwards here and and take quite a bit of that off. I will leave some of the fog in there, but I'll expose some of those trees a little bit, just a little bit. I want a kind of a foggy look in the distance. And then I'll continue to go down and take a lot of that excess oil off, liquid white off, because you don't want a lot on there, just enough to make it slippery. All right, so now I'm into my oil paints, and I use red ochre a lot. You could use burnt sienna if you don't have red ochre, and just add a little Van Dyke brown to it. I just want a real pretty reddish brown there. Okay, so now I am shaping in where my big rocky hill will be. Just looking at my little sketch and gauging where I want it to go on the 16 by 20 canvas. Just etching it in. This is just all, this red ochre will blend in. So don't worry about color so much. Just getting in the angles. And in the front there, I'm working on, it is going to be like a stone wall, a stony wall. So I want that to come out like in front of that hill. So, and now I'm going into where I'm putting in a big old oak tree. I'm gauging where I want to position that so that the little stone pathway there just barely visible. And then it comes around the bend and it's going to widen up as you go. And for the shoreline there, I'm etching in where that's going to be. It's going to come into the land a little bit, keeping my lines pretty well straight across. Because that there is going to be water pulling down. Doesn't look like much now, but it will. Making the bend there where the stone pathway is, just etching it out. And you can always change it too if you don't like it. Now is the time. There's going to be lots of rocks and boulders in there. Making the stone pathway is going to be fun. Okay, now I'm going into coming down and I'm just going to level off. It's going to end up there right. Big old flat rock is going to be right on the edge of that path. Shaping my big old rock. And there'll be shadows underneath that into the water. The water is going to come up to that rock. Little arc down below, that's going to be the shadow of that rock. Okay, I'm leaving a little opening there between, you see it's open. That's going to be kind of a walkway or down to the water. Perhaps somebody goes fishing right there, but that is going to be relatively left open. Making my way up that stone path. Now I'm shaping out my big old tree. I will be lowering that just a little more. I want it to be right on that bend. Okay, so I'm just shaping the rock, the flat rock. Just got a little flat, it's a real small flat brush that works good. Okay, so now I'm going to add, I've got a 1 inch. I'm going to go into, some pale blue, white, and phthalo. I'm going to add some water. Just gently pulling back and forth underneath that back horizon line, or tree line, I should say, and then put a little more blue above. It's going to be kind of a hazy blue, just enough. Bringing some more blues along the side. Now right next to the shoreline, that is going to be a big shadow area. That will be fairly dark. So I'm just going to pull some blue into it a little bit. Maybe a little darker as you come down alongside of that big old flat rock. And I will brush upward, keeping that fairly light. All right. Maybe a little darker along the edges there. Okay, I'm going into the red ochre and a little bit of Van Dyke brown. Excuse me. And I'm going to start at the top and just tapping into bushes up there, a bush line. Got a small fan brush that works pretty good. Just tapping in some ground color. Working my way toward that tree. And you will see a little bit of that hill on the right side of that tree. So I'm going to continue with a little bit of a dark area there. There we go. Because the hill will come all the way down to the shoreline. Tapping in some bushes. Pushing up with my fan brush, creating, I say gnarly bushes. You can kind of see the fan brush strokes there. You can make different shapes with the fan brush. And so I'm just working my way, angling down to the shoreline. Got to keep the lay of the land going there. You want to make sure it looks like a hill because you don't want it straight across. And on the shoreline, I'm going to tap and I'll pull some of that down into the water. Just a little bit. And putting in some darker areas here and there. Maybe a touch of black alongside of that right side of or left side of the pathway. It's going to be darker right at the base of that hill. And then the stone little wall is going to be very dark. I'm going to end up shaping some gray and white rocks in there. And I'll show you how to form those rocks. And at the base of the canvas, it's going to end up fairly dark. Got a little bit of Van Dyke brown and the red ochre. Like I said, you can use burnt sienna if you want. My goal is to create a reddish brown, keeping my angle of the path straight. Those are imaginary steps there. And I use my finger a lot too, just to blend. I have little wipes that I use to clean off my fingers. It's no big deal. So I'm just smoothing it out, going down, back with the fan brush, tapping in some graphies and kind of smoothing it out, softening it up. It's just background. With the 1 inch, I'm just smoothing that out. I don't want a lot of heavy paint right there. Okay, I've got a little bit of white mixed in with the powder blue. It's a gray blue. Actually, I created with phthalo and black and white. Just makes that kind of a gray blue. So anyway, I'm going in with a little bit of that color first. It's dark. And I'm going to start shaping some, I don't know what you call it, slate rocks. They're big old boulders coming out of the hill. And it's a dark color, black and a touch of blue, but I'm pulling down with the palette knife. And I will accent those rocks with lighter blue on top and white. But right now I'm just putting in the rocks, the dark color, pulling down, and I can reshape them after a while, but just pulling down, kind of like when you do a mountain, almost like a waterfall, pull down. So I'm just adding a little bit of the light gray blue on them, just kind of a medium. Just pull on top, pull down. I used a small edge of my palette knife. That works pretty good. More rocks there alongside of the path. You can put in as many as you want. Okay, back into the red ochre. That side of the wall right there is going to be lighter, a little bit lighter, and darker in some areas. The bottom part of that wall will be fairly dark. I put a little white in there. You can blend it in with the palette knife, keeping the angles the same as you go down. That little area, see, I can use a blue shop towel if I put too much paint down. That works really good to absorb the extra oil. Putting a little more dark blue in there, gray blue. And I'm double coating my palette knife. You'll see I'll scrape a little bit in the blue and then I'll just tap it in the white. So I've got a double color on my palette knife. And that makes kind of a cool blend, a marble blend of two colors. I think with a brush they call it double loading, but you can do that with the palette knife, and it makes some really nice effects. So I'm going in with a little bit of the Van Dyke brown, reddish brown, and add a little white. Just pull down a little bit. This is just the background of with these stones. Different layers of color on this. The bottom part of that stone is going to be fairly dark with some browns mixed in. I'm going in to black, and I'm going to start shaping some of these rocks with I've got a liner, and I'm just going to shaping some rocks down there. Pretty big ones. Edging out the edge of that. I'm putting a little bit of a black edge on the side of that rocky area. So now I'm going into Van Dyke and a little tiny bit of the red ochre. I'm going to scratch in, so I'm going to be putting some boulders or rocks right there. So I'm going to tap in some grassies. It's hard to tap when you have the rocks already in there. So I'm just going to tap in and put different textures in that hill there. I'm mixing up a little bit of gray, black and white, making a medium to light. Got a little small brush, adding a little bit of, and I'm going to make some rocks. You won't be able to see them too well right now, but I will add highlights on those, and they'll just pop out. You'll see. But I wanted to get all that texture, grassies and things in there first before I add my stones. And there will be a few trees in there, so I'm just kind of gauging where I want my stones to lay. And they'll be alongside of that bank. And once I get them in, I might scratch in a few of the yellow ochre grassy around those rocks. Okay. Figuring out where I want the edge of that bank will be. And then I'll pull that color down into the water. It's the shadow color. Because that's going to be a pretty dark area there. Tapping in some dark color in there. And then when I add my reds and oranges and that, they'll really pop. Okay, so I'm adding just a little bit of the blue in there, a little bit of brown, touch of white, and a little bit of red ochre, and then brush across. I want to soften that whole area up. Going into the orange and red ochre. Gonna tap in the shoreline. Going into a light blue-gray. And chip off the tops of those boulders just a little bit. Using the small end of my palette knife and my finger to blend, but you can choose a brush if you'd like. And just tip the tops of those um, stones with that highlight. The medium to light gray. I'm going to put a kind of a big old boulder, a couple of big rocks in the distance, right at the tip of that hill, right there in the water, or the base of that hill, I should say. But I'm going to put a big old stone there, and I'll brush down a little bit and create a shadow. But there I've got the medium to light gray. I'm just shaping the top of that stone because it's laying in the water. And I'll darken them just a little bit, more of a dark gray, just kind of at the tops and a little bit on the sides, just to give it a real feel, realistic feel. And I added the shadow down below. Okay, so now I've got some of that dark color, and I'm going to shape around that flat rock. I'm shaping that rock. The edge of that rock will be fairly come straight down. Kind of boxing it in there, and then I'll fill it in. It's a mixture of Van Dyke and black. It's just a dark, dark color. Now the time to reshape it. If you don't like it, you can change it. Now left side there, I'm going to pull down because that's going to be the edge of that big old flat rock that's going to lay right down on the pathway with lots of leaves pushing up against that. I want that bottom edge there fairly dark. I'm adding a little blue underneath that tree line way in the back, just a little bit. The blue gray. Okay, I've made up some red ochre and Van Dyke brown. Got a little roll on my palette knife, and I'm gonna uh, pull lightly across. See how pretty that looks? Now I did a double roll, once in the brown and once in the red ochre, and even in a touch of white. So we'll see what we get. Just puts a nice little reflection on that flat rock. And you can use the small end of your palette knife or the full blade end. I go back and forth wherever I can reach, if I can reach some of these corners. In the landing there, I'm putting in a little darker area. Lots of layers here. I'm going to add a big old rock, just like we did on the top part, only angling to the side. A little brown, Van Dyke brown, touch of blue and white. All all that color on the palette knife. It gives it. You can really make some pretty marble effects doing it that way. Triple loading. And you only need a couple swipes. Trying to figure out where I want to put a bottom or side on that boulder. It's not your typical round boulder. It's more of a, square, sort of square, triangle, diamond shape. It's coming down the hill. So I have to angle the lines a little bit. So a little red ochre, touch of orange, touch of white, and all on the same blade. A little more white. create a little line under there. If it's too light, add a little red in there. Yeah, I think I like that one, right? A little bit of a light source right there on the edge of that. Okay, now I'm going into black, and I will be adding another just thickening that up a little bit. Kind of squaring it off. And if you're happy with it, you can just move on. Trouble is, I'm my worst critic and I keep picking at it. I probably shouldn't, but I wanted to make I want to make it look as realistic as possible. All right, so now I've got the fan brush. I'm putting a little few grasses there. Got a little bit of orange and red ochre on my palette knife. I'm gonna make tiny little ripples in the water and a little more orange, uh, not on the rock, but in front of the rock. That's where the light is hitting the most. And might be a collection of leaves there from the tree leaves I'm going to be putting on. All right, I'm going to tap in. I've got a real small flat brush. I'm going to shape in that big old oak tree. I'm just putting the lines first, and then I'll make it bigger after I'm happy with the size of the edges. And I will bring that big old tree down a little bit farther. I'm tapping in the edge there because I'm going to put make, and just tapping in some darker areas there. Making another tree, more in the lighter brown color. Van Dyke with touch of white. Gonna go all the way to the top. It's gonna be a cluster of trees right there. Little bit of Van Dyke there in black. Gonna put another tree right really close. Small one. So I'll be putting in clusters of trees going up that hill. And I'm using the smallest flat brush that I have. It's real flat. That makes for really nice trees. And you can use liner brush too for the really small ones. Putting some more on the other side. Not as tall though, because it's coming down the hill, keeping the lines straight up, or you can curve them out a little bit when you start. We're going to start putting some branches on, bringing them out. And that's a soft brown. It's not really super dark. Van Dyke, uh, touch of red ochre with a touch of white. More brown though. But those branches are going to come way out. I'm going to have a ton of leaves on those over the water. All right, now I've got a scruffy brush. It's a Donna Dewberry, half in, 3/4 inch. It works really good, for flowers and that. And I test my brushes to see what they'll do. And if I'm in real tight areas, this works pretty good. I'm just tapping in my red ochre and I'm going to go up that path, just tapping in some color. Van Dyke brown over the top of that, just here and there. And then I'll go back into the red ochre. Variations of colors on that pathway. Okay, now I'm going to try another brush, just a little flat brush. I'm going to see how that works. So I try different brushes because I want to, try and make it as realistic as possible. So that little flat brush works pretty good. Going all the way down, adding different layers, light and darks in the pathway, on the pathway. I did make that oak come out a little farther and down just a little bit. I'm going to put some texture on that big tree. A little bit of light brown, a little bit of red ochre there, touch of white. The combination of colors on my palette knife. I'm going to edge that now, just tapping the edge of that tree because there's light reflections there. Using the corner of my fan brush, going in with a small brush, and I'm going to make a cluster of rocks underneath that tree, just here and there. And that's black. And then I'll go in with the smoky gray blue. I got some on my finger, but I end up and then just wipe it a little bit. Just need a little bit on the top of those rocks for reflections. It works pretty good. I just want a little bit on top of those rocks just to give some reflection there. Okay, I made put in another big rock there. Putting down a dark color first, and then I am tipping the top of that with a fan brush with a little bit of orange and red ochre, just to tap as if there's leaves on top of that fell on there. Okay, pathway, I'm going in and putting some little lines in there, like tree branches, little twigs and things in the pathway. And I'm putting a little bit of a light source, adding a little bit of orange and yellow, and a touch of white. Double loaded my palette knife. See how that works? You can just get a blend of colors that looks really cool. All right, going into red ochre and orange. and a little bit of mixture orange and yellow. And I'm going to start putting some little flat leaves here and there on the pathway, just kind of dotting here and there, ever so light. Just dotting some color in there, putting it around the tree there, going in a straight orange, just keeping, and just kind of a flat way. It's not pushing, it's more of a sideways on your, hold your brush more of a sideways. And this one there, I'm just tapping while I'm extending out, starting to put my rocks in, my stones. And I've got a dark brown. I'm just tapping in a little straight line way in the distance there. Nothing real fancy right now. Starting to put in my stone. And if you have too much, take a blue shop towel and lay it on top gently, and it'll take off any of the excess. Tapping in, straight line, pulling down just a little bit. As I come to the base of that, I will make those a little bit wider. Start out with a medium brown on top, and then I put the black underneath. There's the light brown. It's hard to see right now, but when you add the black to put the final shape on that rock, still adding the top there, the top of the rock. I've got two brushes I'm working with. One for the top of the stone and one for the edge. Now I'm going to do the edge of that. Just carefully put in black. Doing the corners. Now I've got a little bit of brown on my brush, light brown and white. And you'll see what happens. I put it right on the top of that stone, just very lightly. See? Now you can see the whole stone. And put some leaves under that. Got in some color underneath those, in between. And if you have too much, you can always just dot a little dark color over that orange. Okay, I'm going into beige, or at least a light tan. You can see I made another couple of rocks there. As you come down, the tops are going to be, the flat part of the rock is going to be lighter. It's going to be a bit lighter. But I'm creating the top of that rock. Nice straight across. Got to keep your angles right. I'm going into straight black. That little flat brush works good. Gonna go underneath that last flat rock there. Angling down. And I've got odorless mineral spirits there. I clean my brushes off and on. And then I tap it in a paper towel. Now I've got black there. See how that you can see the stone step even more now. And then I'll highlight the top of that with a lighter creamy beige. There we go. Going into a light beige. And I'm going to just do the top of that stone right along the edge. It's like where the light is hitting. You can really see it now, can't you? So that's basically how I do my stone steps. Okay, so I've got a little yellow and white on my palette knife. I'm just creating a little uh, light pathway coming to the bottom of the canvas and putting in some little broken branches with a liner brush. Okay, here comes, I am adding a few more branches, darker ones. Got a nice liner brush. And after I put the leaves in, I'll go back and find these. Some of these branches will be covered, but I'll put some black over that and I'll bring them back to the front so they won't be hidden. I'm going to put a few uh, branches and trees that are coming out from the side of the canvas. It's going to have some pretty color leaves on those. And I'm going to have a fallen tree that is kind of half in the water. That's with the liner, gently putting in some branches that are sticking up. And I have it coming from, it fell from the side of the, the pathway there, just plopped over. So I wanted to make sure that the trunk, you know where it came from. There you go. All right. When you're happy with that, if you have too much, I always take a little blue shop towel and just gently go over that because you don't want it looking globby. You want it to be fairly smooth. Okay, I've got the liner again, and I'm adding a little bit of soft white on just the underneath part of those branches. Okay, I've got black, brown, white, a little bit of orange. Okay, I've got a fan brush, and it's just kind of a muted orangey color. It's not real super bright, but I'm just putting in some soft leaves way up in the corner. A little mixture of yellow and orange and a little bit of white. It's just little bits of color up there. Adding some here and there where I think the light's going to hit. So now I'm using a 1 inch. I've got some all medium brown, Van Dyke brown with a little bit of white. Just tapping in clumps of brown areas there. Just to give it a little more color base. Once I start adding, okay, I'm into red ochre. And I've got, it's what they call a round brush. It's not real soft. It's fairly hard on the end, but it makes really cool birch trees. But I'm tapping it in my red ochre, and I'm just going to start tapping away, putting some leaves in there. put the dark down first, and then I'll add different layers lighter as I go. Just tapping some dark reds in there. Going into a little bit of orange. I don't even have to, like, now that color, all of them actually, when I start putting leaves on, I need to have a little bit of the odorless mineral spirits to thin it out just a little bit, because you don't want it thick at all, because thin will stick. Okay, thick paint won't stick to thick paint, so you have to thin it out, and that's the wet on wet technique. You need to thin that next layer out so the color will lay right on top of that first layer. Using a small brush there, curving around, creating some pretty colorful branches, leaves. I use different things for my leaves. Now I'm back in my 1 inch. I'm putting some bursts of orange in there, here and there, just a little bit. Soft touches. Okay, now I'm back into my um, the little round brush, just tapping in some oranges amongst that red ochre. Another round brush. I've got two of them. So I've got one I use for the lighter colors and one I use for the dark ones. So I don't have to keep washing out my brush. But I mean, putting in some extra orangey yellows in there. And now I've got some putting in red ochre on the top again. Just filling in. And if you get up and stand back and kind of squint, you'll see where you need some of that extra color. Lighter yellows on the top where they gradually get darker as you go in middle of the canvas. Now I've got a little bit of sap green and white. I'm just making a real muted green. I'm going to put a few green leaves in there, very light. And I'm going to try out my little sponges and see how that works. Um, I dip my sponge in the thinner a little bit, squeeze it out really good, and then I tap it in my color. Because I want, see right there, the bottom of that one branch there, just putting in some extra green color. Now I've got another color, I'm trying to figure out where. I've got orange, a little bit of brown, and just blending them in together. Back into my 1 inch. That seems to work pretty good. Going into green and a little bit of darker brown. Okay, I'm going to try it again with my orange. My little sponges. It works kind of cool for just small clusters. And they're a little more, how should I say? It defines the leaves a little better than, say, a 1 inch. Because you got little holes in there, and they do look like little leaves. And I've got a brighter. I used cad red light in some areas to really make those reds pop out. Because I'll use that red and combination of the orange cut to yellow. And you can triple load those little sponges too. That works out pretty good. All right, now I'm going to go back over and find some of those branches that are covered up. So I'm going to bring them out to the front so you can actually see them, and that really gives it a realistic look. Just here and there, pulling in some branches, and I use straight black. I want to make sure that and this black is thinned out a little bit, like all the other ones I use for leaves, because then the paint will stick to these other colors. There. Okay, I'm gonna go back in and oh, add in some lighter leaves, light yellow, just touching here and there, making things pop just a little more. I'm just using my little flat brush, laying some leaves along the big old rock. And I'm going to add on the side there little branches that are going to stick up about where I've got my brush. I'm going to just not go all the way, just a little bit up with very, very light. See, real small um, strip liner brush, just very light. I'm going to add a few branches that are going to come up. I'm going to put a pop of color down there too with my little round brush. Dip it in my red ochre, and I'm just going to put some here and there leaves, just here and there. Kind of helps balance everything off. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. Here we go. I think that's enough. I might add a few little whispers of branches. Now I laid down some orange areas that look like leaves floating in the water. Now I'm going to take a real small liner brush and I'm going to just dot some white areas in there just to give it a little light and sparkle. Oh, I almost see a finished painting here. Wow, I love doing this one and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.